right. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Woo, welcome to Project Dark Corona.
Yes. Project Dark Corona.
It's going to be a great show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Going to be doing a little Bigfooting.
Going to be doing some squatching. I like to squatch.
So, you want to go ahead and give us your little spiel there, David?
Oh, well, I can, yes. Remember, we are simulcasting live on Spreaker and on Podbean tonight. But please come to projectdarkcorona.org and come into the live chat and, come visit us there. We also have a chat room on our website at projectdarkcorona.org. And it just makes things a little bit easier, and we're not having to look at 27 chat rooms. But, hey, we don't mind. So, remember, our Facebook page is Everything Paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, Aliens, and Ghosts. It's a mouthful, but guess what? That's our Facebook page. Twitter is Project Dark Coro. That's C-O-R-O. Oh, there's that Twitter bird. And also remember, when you come on to projectdarkcorona.org, over on the right-hand side, there is a little area that says paranormalityradio.com. Click on that. We made number 2 last month. We're going for number 1. Woo! That's what we're trying for, right, Jason?
Oh, yeah. Number 1.
Number 1. So, Paranormality Radio, and vote for us. You can vote up to 3 times a day, which one time is 3 times. So, but yes, so, hey, vote. We like it. We like your vote. And now, the website is going to go through a little bit. We're SEOing right now. So, that means search engine optimization. And we're trying to make ourselves where, people find us a lot easier. And so you may see some things change a little bit on the website, but we're still here, and you can type in projectdarkcorona.org and always get there. But yeah, we want to definitely have you come visit us and come join us.
Join us. Got to get that in, right?
I do. That's my thing.
Yeah. Also, if you like the show on projectdarkcorona.org, you can we have a free membership. You can do the free. You can sign up and become a member for free, or if you want to support the show and help us with the website, you can do that for $2 a month.
Man, that's less than a cup of coffee.
It is.
At Starbucks anyway.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and that goes, to help the website and get just stuff we need for the show. And also, once you do that, you'll be a premium member, and you'll get premium content, premium blogs, all kinds of stuff we're adding to it. But right now, it's time for some weird news with David.
Thank you, Jason. I've got a pretty good story today. It was sent to me by somebody. Jonas.
Become a member.
Join us.
Come
visit us. So I got sent this today, and I was like, this is just too good to not talk about it. So a man was completely swallowed up by a humpback whale.
A whale?
Whale.
What the heck's a whale?
I haven't been drinking. Not that much anyway, for sure. A humpback whale. Yes. In Cape Cod, off of Cape Cod. So I saw that and I was like, oh, we've got to talk about the humpback whale. Right?
Yeah.
We've all heard about guys being swallowed by whales before, so here's a guy that lived to tell about it. So a veteran lobster diver, his name is Michael Packard, went into the water for his second dive of the day. He was hovering off of Cove Beach, surrounded by a fleet of boats catching striped bass. The temperature of the water was about 60 degrees, and the visibility is about 20 foot. So he said all of a sudden he felt a shove, and the next thing he knew, it just went completely black. And And so he thought he got hit by, a great white shark or something like that. He said that he was moving and he could feel squeezing from muscles on the inside of the mouth. And so initially he thought he was inside of a great white shark, but he didn't feel any teeth and he hadn't suffered any obvious wounds. And it quickly dawned on him that he had been swallowed by a whale. I don't know how would you come to that? I don't know how you'd come to that. It's like, I think I've been swallowed by a whale.
Well,
I don't feel no teeth in my leg.
either that or a UFO. I mean, I don't know.
I would have thought a UFO. I'm sorry, but so he said it was completely black inside. And he said he thought to himself, there's no way I'm getting out of this thing. He goes, I'm dead. He says, I'm never seeing my kids again. And so he had scuba gear on. He said that he struggled for a little while, and then the whale began shaking its head. And so he estimated that he was inside the whale for anywhere from 30 to 40 seconds before the whale finally surfaced. He said he saw light, and he started throwing his head side to side, and the next thing he knew, he was outside in the water. Yeah, so the whale spit him up, I guess.
Is there a moral to this story?
I guess don't go scuba diving around whales.
Well, I guess he was getting his lobster.
Well, he was a lobster diver,
stuff.
but I'd say that they were there because of the striped bass that the other guys were catching. So there's probably a big school of striped bass probably there. And that's what the whale was after, but, he gobbled up something.
Well, I mean, whales are big, and it was big enough to swallow him whole.
The humpback's
and,
huge.
and so, where he was at, it was definitely dark in the area because he had no idea that a whale was even around him.
Well, it probably come up from underneath him, I would say.
Underneath him? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's what I would say it did.
Oh, yeah. When they feed with their mouths wide open and behind them.
Yep, and just go through the school and catch them, don't they? Yeah. So
it isn't just jaws that you need to be scared about.
Right. Hey, watch out for those jaws for sure. They ain't got no teeth, but hey, obviously they can swallow you. So, but he's fine.
He must have had something on him that didn't taste so good. So luckily,
I would say he didn't fit down the old gauze, and he was like choking. So he's like, "Heck with this! I'm spitting you back up."
So this wasn't one of those like big, huge whales. Then it was,
not like a sulfur bottom whale. It was a humpback. So
okay,
yeah.
So it would be a little harder for him to go down. Okay,
I would just say he didn't. Yeah, that he couldn't go down. That's why he's spitting back up. So, Jason.
Yeah. What's up?
That's the weird news.
Yeah.
Oh, you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guy got swallowed by a whale.
All right. Tonight,
And live to tell about it.
we got Mr. Stephen Major with us. Going to be talking about Bigfoot, and he loved Bigfoot so much that he created his own company. You know that?
I know that he does like
It's
that.
called Extreme Expeditions Northwest. And it's your gateway to adventure guided Bigfoot expeditions. And he was also on the Travel Channel, the Alaskan Triangle, when they was looking for the hairy man.
Yeah, I watched that episode. That's a fantastic.
Yeah, I watched it 20 times in the last 2 days. I know he's got a documentary out that I couldn't seem to get it. Yeah. I seen the preview, but I couldn't get it.
Well, I got it. It's Bigfoot Encounters in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. And he had his friend Beans with him and a couple more people.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna be awesome.
Yeah. So when we come back from a quick little break, we're gonna bring Steven on, and he's gonna talk a little Bigfoot with us.
I'm ready. Let's do this. So remember, everybody, simulcasting, but please come to projectdarkcorona.org and come into the live chat room there.
Yeah, and if it ain't playing, hit the play button.
Yeah, just hit the play button. It's that little thing. It looks like a triangle. And remember to vote for us on Paranormality Radio, and we'll be back right after these messages.
You're listening to Project Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona.
Thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona. You can find us on Facebook at Project Dark Corona Podcast. All of our shows are posted in the events section. You can also find us on Twitter at Project Dark Coro. We have a webpage at projectdarkcorona.org. You can sign up and become a member. You can post blogs and listen to past shows. So remember and listen to Project Dark Corona Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Sieber from EastTennesseeBigfoot.org. You're listening to David and Jason at Project Dark Corona Radio.
All right, we're back from that quick little break. We're going to be talking with Stephen Major from Bigfoot Expeditions Northwest, and we're going to go ahead and bring him on. What's up, Mr. Stephen?
Hey,
how you doing?
How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Doing fantastic.
That's good.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
I appreciate you having me on the show. And I want to thank you guys very much for talking about that story about the guy that was swallowed by the whale today. As a diver, I was like, oh my God, we finally get a story of where a guy is swallowed by a whale, because I've been swimming or, diving around those things for quite some time off of Port Hardy and stuff like that. And I always wonder what it would be like to get swallowed. Now I know. I'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll spit you back out.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's 2 recorded incidences of a whale swallowing a man.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that that I know of.
Jonah, that's 2.
Just make yourself big when you're in there, I guess. I don't
Just
know.
move around, breathe a lot.
Yeah.
What is that? Scratch its, what is that, ugula or whatever that thing is that hangs
that
down?
little thing there. Yeah, you gotta tickle it.
Yeah. You probably can't set a fire like they did on Bugs Bunny or whatever that cartoon
That's
was.
right. That's right.
I wish it.
Yeah.
I wish it would have blowed him out his porthole.
I don't think they're that big. That's funny. So I know the majority of us here anyway have watched you on the Alaskan Triangle when you went up, and
Yeah.
and that was that was a fascinating episode. I mean, you have the hairy man, and I guess it's a Bigfoot-like creature, right?
Yes.
And it was literally like killing people, ripping them apart.
That's what
Yeah, it is a fascinating story. I mean, it is one of the most intriguing stories ever. I don't think you find that anywhere. And I mean, and not to mention, it's backed up with historical records and let's say factual accounts or documented accounts. The history of that town. And no, it was great. And I'm glad that we got we're able to do that for the Travel Channel.
Yeah, that was a heck of an episode. I'll just have to say,
yeah,
that was a heck of an episode.
Well, and I have to tell you what, after that was for me, that was my third time in there. And let me tell you that I'm not real keen on going back after that, but we faced some horrendous weather conditions while we were there. It was absolutely insane. I mean, it was torrential rains and winds, and we suffered through an earthquake. I mean, dude, it was like everything imaginable that would screw up a production, or it end in things up there during that time. It was absolutely terrible conditions. And I got to tell you, my hats off to those guys. Michael Parks and his team from Wild Dream Films out of the UK that actually were the crew that came with us on that. Those guys are tougher than Brady Cougar shit. I'm serious. It was they were right there in the thick of it with us, and it was great. And they did a fabulous job with the episode. I was very pleased. Very pleased.
Good thing you wasn't too superstitious, because you would be thinking you was going into some bad omen with all that stuff going on. That kind of, by the second day, I was like, you know what? I think there's some bad omens going on here, and it was rough. I mean, it was really rough. I mean, a couple of times there, I thought we were goners, because, we were seriously. I mean, it was just like nuts. And, and Port Chatham, was selected, back in 1786 by Nathaniel Portlock and all that stuff, because it was supposed to be like a nice little sheltered bay and everything like that. And it had been. I mean, the other two times that we were there, it was great. I mean, it was calm, and you have all that rough stuff out there because you're kind of facing the Gulf of Alaska. But this trip, it was like the spirits of Port Chatham, Alaska. They were doing everything possible to keep us from accomplishing our mission while we were there. And they did a pretty damn good job of it, because we didn't get to finish a lot of what we wanted to do. But there were some other things that went on there that were kind of weird and whatnot. But when I left, dude, I was breathing a sigh of relief. And I'm just not, like I said, I just left there with a bad feeling, like, hey, 3 times that I made it. And I just don't know if I really want to go back or not, because it is a weird place. It's a weird place, man.
Well,
it's a weird place.
The early settlers, didn't they think there was a evil spirit, that this thing was an evil spirit?
Well, this is the thing about that place is you've got 2 kind of phenomena going on there, right? You've got, not only do you have the evil spirit aspect of it, and there's in lore and legend, there's what they call her the Dark Woman. And she is basically an apparition, and she's like an evil spirit that haunts the place and can do weird things to you and da-da-da. So you have that. And when we were doing our research up to getting in there and stuff, we were talking with a lot of the local natives, that had ties with, either had relatives that lived there, and about the legend and lore and stuff. So you have the dark lady or dark woman that's kind of like this spirit and stuff that haunts the place. And then on the other side, you have people that are heavy on that, and also that there's evil spirits there. It's an evil place, okay. And then you have, on the other hand, you have the people that it's all about the Nantinaq, the hairy man, the evil beast that lives there, and he's going to rip you to shreds and kill you. And he's the one that was responsible for running the people out of the town when it was a cannery town and stuff. So you got two things going there. And that makes it doubly spooky, because you get that sense that there's some weird stuff there, kind of dark and all of that on the one hand. And then the other hand is you've got this bipedal Yeti-like looking creature running around in there that's going to rip you to shreds. So you've got kind of 2 things going on there.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, You know, one of the things that really got me was the story of the, you know, of how it was. Everything was fine. You know, they were catching fish. I mean, it was even growing for it being out of the way that it was. Then all of a sudden, body parts start washing up and stuff. I mean, I would want to leave. I'd be like, first boat out. I'm gone.
Yeah. And you know, there's a lot of theories on what happened with that because seriously, Nathaniel Portlock and those guys, you actually have like two little. There was Port Chatham, and then there was the town of Portlock, and they've kind of just one and the same. But we're two little minor communities that lived in there. But Portlock, I mean, it was the cannery town when they built the cannery town there, and I think you had close to like 300 residents living there. They had a school, and they had all this stuff, and it was a going concern. I mean, they had indoor plumbing and electricity up there. I mean, it was really, really a going concern. And you had a lot of people there, and they were making money, and it was a real going commercial enterprise there. And then you have all these things that start occurring. But the theory is, and there's a lot of theories on what happened, but one of them is that you've got this competition for resources, right? Mm-hmm. So the Nantidoc, that's his home turf and whatnot, and he lives there, and all of a sudden these people come in and they set up, and they're stealing all the fish, and they're shooting the Dall sheep and whatnot, and they're competition for resources finally led the hairy man to take some drastic action to get these people out of the place.
Yeah, and that was something else that they kind of mentioned on there is that whatever it was pretty successful because ultimately everybody ended up leaving.
Yeah,
and abandoning the place.
Yeah, they packed up en masse and left. Boom. And they moved. They resettled in, Port Graham and Nanwalek, which is about 15, 18 miles away. And when I've spoken to a lot of people that live in Nanwalek and that live in Port Graham and stuff, and that place is known as an evil or dark place. And you stay away from there. And many of them, they're very, very frightened of the place, and it just has this dark cloud hanging over it. And to this day, they won't go there. They will not go there. Wow. I talked to one guy, and he said they'll come down to the mouth of it, and they'll do some fishing and stuff like that because there's good fishing, there, good halibut and stuff like that. But they will not enter that place. I mean, some of them are just absolutely terrified. And in the year leading up to us going in there in 2018 for our first expedition, I was getting numerous phone calls from people in the area, warning us not to go in there. To go in there. Don't go in there either because you're going to upset the spirits and why not, or don't go in there because you're not going to come out. You're going to die there. You're going to get killed. The hairy man's going to get you. And this and that and the other thing. It was really disturbing. I mean, it was really disturbing, but still we had to go. Right. We had to go.
Now, since you've done pretty much, like you said, 3 expeditions into there, what did you take from the place?
Well, I've got actually 3 different perspectives on it from 3 different trips. The first time that I went in there was in June of 2018, and I always like to do a recon of an area before we're going to go in there. And on that trip, there was just 3 of us. I was able to, I presented it to Adam Davis. You may know who he is, Adam Davis, yes. World Explorer, whatnot. Yeah, and he was like, I met him up on Vancouver Island, and I said, hey man, I got this idea. I want to go to this place, and I told him about it. I said, do you want to go? And he's like, we may not be coming back based on all these stories or whatever, but we got to check it out. And he's like, bloody hell, I'd love to go. When do we want to go? So anyway, so that was in like January or December or something like when we met. We talked about that, and then we followed up in June, and then we got things together, did some research on the place, and we just said, okay, let's fly to Homer, and we'll find somebody. When we get to Homer, we'll charter a boat, and they'll take us over to Port Chatham, Alaska. And we thought it was that simple. So in June we fly up to Homer, Alaska, and we're like, okay, let's go charter a boat, and they'll take us out there. Well, dude, man, it was 2 days before I think it was 2 days or what. Nobody wanted to take us out there. Let me just put it to you that way. So we're in town and we say, yeah, we want to go to Port Chatham. I mean, seriously, I was burning up the phone. I was like, couldn't get everybody I talked to, from airplanes to boat charters to blah, 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 blah. Absolutely nobody. I mean, and these are people that live in Homer, and they're like, man, we're not going out there. We ain't taking you out there. No way, we're not going there. And finally, we found one guy that said, okay, man, I'll take you out there. And and dude, it was like he was the only guy, and I said, I can't believe this. This is how they feel about this place. Nobody wants to go there. So anyway, so we found a guy that took us out there, and basically he ran us out to Port Chatham, Alaska, and dropped us off, gave us a satellite phone and said, I want you to check in every 8 hours. Just text me and say all is well. And he left, and he said, I'll come back and I'll see you in 3 days. Wow. And just dumped us off. And so it was me and Adam Davis, and we brought our cameraman, Josiah Martin from Martin Media, and we spent 3 days there. And I got to tell you, it was pretty intense. We actually stayed where we camped was across from the old town side of Portlock. It actually, my understanding of where we were actually at is where the original Port Chatham place was. But anyways, and dude, I'll tell you what, we didn't sleep for 3 days. I mean, we didn't know what to expect. We thought the hairy man, based on everything that everybody said, hairy man's going to come down and rip to shreds, and we're going to come home alive. And it was a very intense 3 days. We didn't get hardly any sleep at all. We stayed up the whole time, and we're just trying to get a feel for the place and see what happens. And when we were there was during the summer solstice, and I think we got there on the 19th and we left on the 21st. But fortunately it never really got dark. I mean, we were so tense and on it anyways. We didn't know what's going to happen. But it was absolutely beautiful. I mean, but it was a surreal experience. And, you could tell that a lot of people had not been there. And why I say that is not just because people were afraid to go there, but the place is rich with sea otters, the big sea otters and stuff, and they're really cool. Yeah. And it was like they were where we were at. We were on this little spit where we set up our little camp on this little spit, and the sea otters at night, we call it the gloom because it never really got dark, but they would come by like in a parade and they would want to see us. You know how you can tell when animals aren't used to seeing humans? Yeah. But anyways, that was that we were checking it out, and that was our time in there, and we got out of there alive, and we figured, okay, well, now we know that we can go in there and come out alive, so let's come back and do a documentary film about it and spend some more serious time there. And that's what we did in September. However, the only thing interesting that occurred there is that Adam was doing some calling one night. We were trying to see if we could stir up some action, and we got some pretty good FLIR video of what we believe was a bipedal creature coming down a hillside, and it was absolutely terrifying because it's coming down the hill, and we're like, and I was like freaking out, and I go, that thing's coming right for us. And fortunately it stopped about midway down this hill and just sat there and watched us all night. That was it.
Wow. Now, do you think like some of these people think that they live in family groups and they have a one that does look out for the rest of them and stuff? Do you believe that is, something that is very possible?
Well, yes, I do. And I have to tell you this, out of the numerous calls I got from people that were sharing their reasons why we shouldn't go into Port Chatham, Alaska, some of the locals there, had called and shared stuff with me, and they said, if you think that there's only one in there, you're a dumbass. He said they live in family units, and there's a clan, and there's more than one of them, and if you shoot one of them or you hurt one of them, the other clan's going to come down and they're going to wipe you out, that kind of thing. Okay. And so, now, kind of like do I believe they live
like an Ape Canyon type deal?
Well, like an Ape Canyon kind of thing. Yeah. Now, I don't know if there's any validity to that, but it seems to me that would make sense. I don't know, that maybe you're going to have this lone guy, because I don't think that the hairy man that's hanging around in there is the one that was ripping people to shreds back in, the 1940s, right?
Right.
But that was some of the things that we were told, that they do live in family clans and stuff and whatnot. Now, if you're asking me if I buy into all that stuff that Todd Standing's movie, where you've got the Watcher, then you've got the Fire Marshal, and then you've got the whatever, all that weird stuff where he draws the map and Day Watcher and flipping laundry guy and this and that and all that kind of stuff. How the hell do you know that?
Right.
I don't buy into all that. It's because how the hell do you know?
Right. It's got them tagged.
Yeah, it's just set up like a military complex where everybody has their.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, it's like, you don't know. When I saw that Chewbacca looking, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to say I know for sure, but it would stand to reason. I will tell you this though. In a follow up, when we came back in September of 2018 to shoot the documentary film, when we came in during that, on day 2, I did have a sighting of something darting in between some trees. Well, first of all, we did find some impressions. Larry Beans Baxter, when we were doing some investigating in this area, did find some nice 14 and a half foot imprints, and we followed them. And we were following them off from the beach, and we were following them up in the woods there. And you could see we weren't just wandering around. We found the imprints, and then we could follow, and you could see where toes had dug in, where something had been running, going up the hill, right? Mm-hmm. Going up in there, and we're up there about, I don't know, maybe about 200 yards from the beach, and I just caught something out of my left vision, my left eye. Something darted in between two trees, just boom. I mean, we were on the trail of something, right? We found some imprints, and we could find where something had ran, and we're going. And out of the left of my eye, about something just darted. There's a gap in between about two trees, 20 feet in between these two trees, and something just darted through there. And what I saw was something that was whitish gray in color I only caught the left profile. It was whitish gray in color, and it was very lean, but had a massive chest, and you could see the musculature. And it had, what interesting, the things that were most prominent to me was it had looked like a white mohawk and a conical head. And then I remember the arms were very muscular, but it had very long, and I don't know if those are claws on the end of those fingers or if they were just long fingers. Okay. But that's what I caught a glimpse of.
Wow. That's crazy.
And it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's kind of like the one, when I saw that, like we was talking before the show, the one I saw run across the road there in Washington. It was about 11 o'clock. It was like 10 something, almost 11 o'clock at night. And it was one of those nights where it's just really lightly foggy. So you could see, 4 or 5 car lengths ahead of you, and then you kind of start to hit the fog really decently. And it used it to its advantage for sure, because it came out of the center and come across. So it did it right at where the lights were hitting the fog really deep, So it was 4 or 5 car lengths ahead of me. And when it come out of that center, it took like I see it take 2 steps across the road, and it was gone. I mean, it was on the other side, and it was gone. It was disappeared. And to see something that massive move that fast is amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it. It was just, I think it took me 5 or 6 minutes of sitting there like, did I just see what I saw, before I was like, holy smokes, I did see what I saw,
Yeah, dude. And like I'm telling you, I know that approximate area where you saw this, and there have been a number of other reports. And it's at that area where you're at. And then I was telling you, I think it was last December or whatever, where they found that long, very long trackway in the snow from the road. And they followed up into the woods, and the strides was huge. It was like 46 or 48 or whatever. The tracks were huge, and that made on the news. And that's an area where they seem to be transitioning through there to heading to the south.
Okay.
and whatnot. So,
I was just going to ask you a question on that. Do you think that these things kind of migrate a little bit?
Man, that's a question. I can't, here's, I can only share with you what I believe and whatnot. And kind of what I feel. The only place where I know where they like move seasonally is on Vancouver Island. Now, but I'm assuming that is my own. Yeah, that is my only experience with. They'll come down low in the wintertime. And that's why when we go to Vancouver Island, we'll go in the wintertime when it's absolutely miserable, cold, and shitty, right?
Yeah.
But that is when there's snow in the mountains. There's nothing for them to eat in the higher elevations. There's no berries. There's very little. And you've got snow up there, but they'll come down low and they'll come down to the beach areas where they will feed on clams and cockles and stuff. And you have the huge tides and all that because that's where the food sources are, right?
Right.
And so we've gone to Vancouver Island and during the wintertime and we've had some significant encounters. We've got some great FLIR video, found good tracks and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like finding that stuff in the summertime, I've had absolutely no luck whatsoever during the summertime.
Wow.
Finding any evidence, fresh evidence during the summertime on Vancouver Island. So that leads me to believe that what I've been told by the local First Nations people and the natives is they come and go and they come and go because we've never gotten anything. But in the wintertime, dude, we've got some phenomenal FLIR video, got some vocalizations, got some tracks and all that, but it seems to have the most activity during the wintertime.
The wife and I, I told you we do we're truck drivers. We've taken the ferry to Vancouver Island a few times to deliver. And, it was not really the wintertime. I didn't realize that it was such a hot spot until I really started doing some, some investigations and seeing what the First Peoples were saying. And they're like, oh, Vancouver Island is, there's tons of them here. And, I'll tell you one thing that was weird. The weirdest thing though, is that they've got the biggest, these are solid, like black bunny rabbits, and these things are huge. One morning we woke up and we was getting ready to get offloaded, and I see these huge freaking black bunny rabbits bouncing around everywhere. I'm like, man.
Well, dude, I think, I know what you're talking about. But, let me tell you, Vancouver Island, and I'm only speaking from Campbell River North, okay? Because I know Victoria and all that, but Vancouver Island,
Victoria, it was way north of Victoria.
Yeah, you go Victoria, Nanaimo, Campbell River, and Campbell River is kind of like our headquarters. That's our base when we're up there operating up on the island there. But there's there's a ton of sightings up there. There's a lot of people with encounter experiences, but there's also just some plain ass weird shit that goes on up there. When you get out in those deep, dark woods, I'm telling you, there's some places like around the Roberts Lake area and stuff like that. Yeah. And there's quite a large number of people that go missing annually around there, combined with a lot of other stuff. But I've had the living hell scared out of me a number of times up there on Vancouver Island. Yeah, because it's.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's a much bigger island than I had realized. When we first went over there, we got off, and where we got off, we didn't go down to Victoria. We got off on the other ferry that's further up, and it was closer. Yeah. Well, the second time, the third or fourth time we went, that ferry was booked up for the whole day, so we couldn't get on. We had to take the ferry to the other. So when we was driving from there up, then you really realize this is a huge island.
Dude, people don't realize how big it is. You go to Port Alberni, and then you take the highway and you come out over at Tofino and Euclid.
Yeah.
And you go way, the island is flipping huge, man. Mm-hmm. People have no idea how big that island is.
Well, it's a lot of it. Ferry ride there.
Yeah, right. And then when you get there, it's like, there is so much of that. And I was born in Kellogg, Idaho. That's where I was born. And my father was a Canadian. He grew up on the coast of British Columbia, across from the island. You know where Port Hardy is, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's in that little town north. Okay, my dad grew up over in a place called Drury Inlet, it's on the mainland side, and you know you can take a float plane and you fly from Port Hardy and you land in Drury Inlet, and there's Genesee Bay. It's about 45 air. Or you take a boat across Queen Charlotte Strait and you go up in there. Well, that's where my dad, you know, spent all of his life except for pretty much 10 years of it. And that's when he moved down to Kellogg. I was born here in 64. And then in 76, he comes back one day and he comes back home and he goes, you know what? I'm going back home. Let's pack up. And he moved us out there to this old abandoned logging camp in Genesee Bay. I was 12 years old or whatever. You know, we drove to Seattle, got on a float plane, flew for 3 hours, and landed in the middle of nowhere. And he goes, "This is your home now," and that's where we grew up out there.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And the nearest town from us was about 13 miles down the inlet. Was Hopetown Indian Village. And from the time I was 12 until I was 17, that's where we spent, you know, we'd come back down here and go to school. We spent 3 to 4 months a year up there. And, you know, it was all, you know, Sasquatch was very well known, very prominent and all those things in those areas. But there's a lot of mystery up there.
Wow. I know that there's a lot of people, you know, up and through all that stuff. You know, Dave Politis has his books on the missing 411 and all that stuff too. So
yeah, and
there's a lot of missing people up in those areas, and especially in Washington and stuff. Now he never tells anybody what he thinks or you know what it may be or nothing, but it's all pretty fascinating when you start looking at it from all these different perspectives.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on, and then you guys, you know, with the paranormal thing, like I was on Vancouver Island up north up there. When we're up there, you know, people they'll track us down, they'll find out we're in the area, and they'll want to come and tell us stories and stuff. And a lot of people are coming to share their, you know, Sasquatch stories or encounters or sightings and things like that. But combined with that are stories of, you know, UFO sightings, you know, weird things flying around that. And then they have a thing hanging around the Roberts Lake area, the Demon.
Oh,
that's what they call him. He's like 12 feet tall. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's like, what are you talking about? Wow. Whatever, you know? And, interestingly it was in December of 2017. There was a big story, and it made the news, the BC News, about the sighting of something, potential Bigfoot, on a highway cam just outside the Roberts Lake Resort. So I got the report 48 hours later. I was there to investigate, and they thought it was a Bigfoot and whatnot. And it kind of looks weird in the photo because you only have one frame, right, that they posted. And this thing, we went up there and we reenacted, did a scale, did all this stuff. But anyways, and so we're out there at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And we've got our cameras, and we're kind of just hanging in the area to see if maybe we can, you know, get a glimpse of this, looking for track. We went all over the place, and we're out there, and it's like 12:31 in the morning at night, and these couple of guys come walking up the road, and they're like, "Hey, dudes, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, you know, we're from the States, and we're up here. We're doing an investigation on that Bigfoot sighting that made the news." And they were like, "That ain't no Bigfoot, man. That's the Demon." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, they're like, "Yeah." They'll go, "Yeah, he just don't mess with him, and he doesn't mess with you, and da da da." And so we're talking to these guys. I mean, that kind of stuff is weird,
right?
But that place, it's just like spooky as hell, right? But whatever it was, you can see it on the highway cam, but it's kind of odd looking. But
that's crazy. Something that big, I almost, you know, brings like I don't know. I mean, 12 foot tall.
12 foot, yeah.
You don't usually hear of a 12 foot Sasquatch. That's a big squat.
Dude, I know, man. And I mean, like, you know, we used a dumpster. We used a dumpster that's in the frame for scale, right? and all of that. And we're trying to figure out exactly how tall this thing was and whatnot. But it doesn't look like a hairy bipedal beast on the camera and whatnot, but it just looks like this big, tall figure that's going around there. But that's just one thing. And then you've just got some places when you get up there, closer to you go farther up the road and it's closer to where Sayward is, right? And you can find it's called Rooney Lake. And man, that place has just got some weird stuff going on all day long. And we found a number of tracks and things up there. But the only thing, the bad thing is, well, not the bad thing is, we never get to stay long enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because usually you're up there and you maybe got a week or something like that, but you need to spend some more time in the area.
Right. And that's another thing is like a lot of times when you see people who go on location and stuff like that, they're really, like you said, you only really ever see someone there for like a week or so. But, you know, if you was able to stay a month or something, you would be able to do a lot better investigation, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. You know, and that leads me, to another point. And in my personal opinion, we've got all these people that are looking for Bigfoot, looking for Sasquatch and all that. But really, it's really all a matter of time.
Yeah.
And time on spot. Let's say if I could spend 30 days in Port Chatham, Alaska, right? Mm-hmm. If I could do that, right? Well, the meters, dude, it costs you $5,000 a day to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, so when you go in there or like to go and, stay in an area, get habituated, be there for an entire month. I mean, it costs a lot. What we do costs a lot of money to be able to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
And I always tell people if Elon Musk decided that he wanted to prove that Bigfoot existed definitively, Elon Musk could do it because he could afford it.
Right. He's got the satellites too.
Well, yeah.
Tell him that. Tell Elon that Bigfoot has a secret how to get to Mars easier. Or something.
He'd find him then.
Yeah, then
sure.
he can talk to him.
Well, dude, man, yeah. No, believe me, I've emailed him a few times. He doesn't have any interest right now.
Wow.
He could know the secret to get to Mars. The woo.
Well, yeah, he might. I don't know. He's been interested in dog coin. I don't know what's going to take to tip him to get interested in Bigfoot.
Right.
So I had to.
Bigfoot
right.
coin.
So, dude, I had this idea to create a Bigfoot coin.
There you go.
And maybe that would pique his interest.
I think that would do it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Get a Bigfoot coin going.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, like you said, there's so many different groups, and it costs so much money. It's almost like you said, if you could have a few groups together to do it is about, it's really expensive. Like you said, $5,000 a day, that's getting up there.
And that's another thing. Could you do like, what is that called where you raise money? GoFundMe account or, yeah. And have a bunch of people put in for it.
Everybody that likes Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We're getting together with this group. We've got different investigators, scientists, all kinds of things. We're getting together and we're going to spend 6 months at this location.
Yeah. We need to try to GoFundMe for X number of dollars.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I would love for you guys to get behind something like that.
Yeah.
Because here's the problem. And one of the problems is this. And I like the way my good friend, Sasquatch man, Larry Beans Baxter put it on a show he did a couple weeks ago that I listened to. And I love Beans. He's a great guy, and I love working with him. And he said it like this. I think the quite similar question was, what do you think of all the, there's all these groups and, there's all this stuff, everybody wants to be a Bigfoot famous and all this kind of stuff. And Bean said it this way. He said, you basically have two types of people in Sasquatch research today. You have, and he equated it to wrestling. You have the WWF guys, the big, whatever, the wrestlers, and they're all about, and they're all about show and fame and bombacity and all that. And then you have the Greco-Roman wrestlers, the collegiate, Roman, real wrestling, right?
Yes.
And I like the way that was a fabulous analogy, because that's what you have going on. And in my opinion, it's really, really tough to bring people together on this thing, because everybody's got their own agenda.
Yes.
As far as, some people really do want to prove definitively that Bigfoot exists and all that. And then you just have a lot of people that they just want to make money and they want attention and this and that and all that things. But it's really hard to get people together like that.
Yeah.
It really is. And so, and you're right. Well, you guys thought, because, and then it dilutes people's finance. Let's say, I don't know how many Bigfoot groups you have in the Pacific Northwest. You probably got 25 or 30, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If everybody got together and they pooled their resources, right, it'd be much more effective.
Yes.
In doing what we do than all of this. But it's everybody's competing to get on TV, or everybody's competing to have a show, and everybody, all that. So it's hard to bring people together.
Yeah. Yeah.
On that.
And then I think a lot of people, I think it's a lot of egos in it too.
And there's tremendous egos. One thing for me, and the question, I formed this company called Extreme Expeditions Northwest, LLC, right? Mm-hmm. Your gateway to adventure, right? Well, I started out doing my first official Bigfoot research and investigation in 2014. And that was, we went to Vancouver Island right after the fishing game guy had that sighting outside of Tofino and all that. We went up and did that. And then we started hitting Vancouver Island and all that. And I'm still funding this stuff. And then you start going, well, geez, man, this costs a lot of money to do this. You got to have the right equipment. You got to spend time away from home. You have all these expenses. And I thought, well, I'm going to form this company, and we're going to allow people, it's not Bigfoot tourism, but we're going to allow people to join our expeditions for a fee to help pay for the cost of our investigations and research. Wow. And that was the whole idea behind it. We're not a for-profit company. I'm not a 503, I'm not trying to make money.
Right.
I'm just trying to break even, because it costs so damn much money to do this stuff. And I said, well, we'll get some people that are really interested. They'll spend the money, they'll come along, and it will help fund, the investigations and the research that we do. And that was the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We have someone in the chat room that asked a question. Jason, can you read that?
Oh, I think she wanted to know if you mentioned Ruby Lake.
Oh, is she talking about the Ruby Lake, the incident in Ruby Lake, where the Bigfoot came, where their mother was at home with the children and chased them out of their house? I thought it was Ruby Creek. If she's talking about that, I'm very well aware of that.
No, she's like, I guess it was just a question on, did you say Ruby Lake, I guess?
Yeah, we got 3 chat rooms.
So. Yeah, we've got 3 chat rooms going. We're trying to get, our website is really, really new, and we're trying to get everybody moved over onto the website. But I think it's going to take a minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can go with the story that you know about.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Well, yeah, that was I thought it was Ruby Creek, and that was in the 40s, mm-hmm. and it was up, I want to say, near Mission, BC.
Okay.
And this gal's at home with her kids, and one of the kids comes in the house, and he goes, "Oh, and there's a hairy man out in the field." And this thing, and the mom comes out there and she looks, and here's this big hairy bipedal creature looking at them and coming towards their house. And
the mother's like, holy, yeah, it was Ruby Creek. The story in Vancouver Province in 1941 was located inconspicuously on page 12. Huge bear terrorized Indians. And basically, this is really famous. And the mother, she realized what it was, and these were First Nations people. And she packed up the kids, got them out of the house, and they ran down the railroad tracks away from the house back into town. And her husband was working somewhere. And then they came back with a bunch of men, and they went back to the house, and the Sasquatch had come in the house and just tore it all up. And there was a 50-gallon barrel of fish that had broken open and had eaten half of it and stuff, and just scared the heck out of them. The hunting party followed the tracks for miles and miles and whatnot, and then they never went back.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a freaky one.
That's crazy. That's what that is.
Yeah. No, it's a really compelling story. I mean, and they did find tracks, and I'm not sure if they cast them, but I mean, they're the sheriff. I mean, the law was involved in the thing and everything. Very frightening. Have I ever been there? No. Would I like to go there? Yeah, sometime.
Right. Now you live there in Washington, so that's a pretty hotbed of activity up through there anyway, isn't it?
Well, it is, and let me tell you, historically speaking, Eastern Washington has been overlooked in the annals of Bigfoot history. And it really, I mean, Eastern Washington, you hear about Western Washington all the time, but in some of the earliest reports in writings about Sasquatch occurred here in Spokane County. And there was a missionary in 1840. His name was Elkanon Walker. And he was a missionary that was with the Spokane tribe, where their headquarters, which, space 25 miles from me up there. And he wrote back to his bishop about these strange, hairy beasts that come down from the mountain and terrorize the Indian village at night, steal their salmon, throw rocks at them. And they called them men stealers. They would come down and they would actually steal, abduct people and whatnot. And that was in 1840. And that was right here in Spokane, Spokane County, where I'm at. And that's some of the earliest stuff ever in 1840. And then a lot, the Patterson-Gimlin film, the 67 Patterson-Gimlin film and the tracks and all that kind of stuff is really, really famous. But second to that, and it doesn't get as much press as it probably should, but in 1969, in Bossburg, Washington, which was a small mining community about 90 miles due north of me here, up in Stevens County. It was a very famous incident, and the tracks that they got up there is called, if you ever heard of the Cribblefoot? There was an incident where a Sasquatch came down into this small mining community and was terrorizing some people. There were numerous sightings, and it was a big deal. And I think even Roger Patterson actually came up here too, but John Green and a bunch of famous people, famous Bigfoot guys at the time. And they spent weeks and weeks up here in Bossburg. And they have the famous Cripplefoot tracks. And I guess down at UCLA, anthropology has the original cast today. And whatnot. So we are in an epicenter where historically there has been a lot of Bigfoot activity, and we're starting to get more and more of that today as Bigfoot becomes more popular. More people are reporting it.
Right. Yeah. I've got a cast I'm looking at right here of Patty's foot.
Yeah. Oh, did you buy a replica?
Yep, I did. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. I don't know if you're aware of what we last year we spent, Pend Oreille County, which is just north of me about 65 miles, and then we went up out to a place called Sullivan Lake, which is right outside of Medellin in Medellin Falls, where the first annual Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival is occurring next week up there. But we shot a documentary film up there called Sullivan Creek Sasquatch. And we were up there between March and August of last year. And, one of the reasons we went up there was because of all of the reports we had of Bigfoot activity and sightings, And
we got some great evidence. We got some wonderful track castings up there last May.
Wow.
We got some good FLIR video, and yeah, there's definitely two Sasquatch in the area around Sullivan Lake, and you'll be seeing if you haven't seen any of our videos. Well, when the film comes out, you'll see the track castings that we got up there.
Well, that'd be awesome. Do you ever sell replicas of any of your castings?
No, I haven't really done that because I don't want to be accused of being a money grubber.
Well, the worst part of it is, I guess, is you still got to fund what it is that you're doing, and everybody loves what you're doing. It's one of those double-edged swords, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and like I want to get back to, with the extreme expeditions thing, right? So we started I have to tell you this, we started that so we could generate cash to support our expeditions. It's not like, it's like, okay, like for instance, we're right now, our next scheduled expedition is to Prince of Wales Island in October, right? So that's posted, and you can join the expedition. We only allow 4 to 5 people to go, and it costs $5,000 to go and all of that to go. But it's basically help funding the team so that we can go and do our research. And we'll shoot a film of it. And the primary reason that we shoot the films as well is to.
Hello.
Oh, hold on.
Wait just a second. Technical difficulties.
Hold on 1 second here. I don't know what just happened.
The Bluetooth thing, I guess.
It did, but I've got Bluetooth back on, so.
See if you can hear him on your phone.
Hello? Steve?
Yeah.
We got you back. I don't know what happened, but it, we lost you for just a second.
Oh.
It was on our side, not on yours. For some reason, we lost that channel, so we got it back.
Yeah, you was talking about your expeditions.
Yes.
Right. And one of the things I want to convey, because I've got a lot of criticism of this lately and whatnot, and I just want to tell people, we do them. We have to have some way of generating the money for us to continue to do what we do.
Right.
As far as going on further expeditions and things like that. And that's why we started doing the films, which have worked out pretty well, so that we can share with the general public what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, that's the thing, because when we announced that we were going to go into port, I got to tell you, this is kind of funny. When we announced that, we made it open to people to come along to, pay, and they could come along. Extreme Expeditions Northwest, we're going to Port Chatham, Alaska in 2018. And you can join the expedition, and it's a guided Bigfoot expedition, which is what it is, right? So I want to tell you, we had a number of people 8 months in advance say, "Oh yeah, man, I'm going to go. I want to go, and I'm going to book." And they fill out the registration form, and they do all this stuff, right? And then about 2 months before we're ready to go, it's like, "Okay, dude, we need your deposit, and we need, you got to put your deposit up, and you got to put some money and all that." And then they're like, "Oh, well, I talked to my wife, and I can't go. She's afraid I might get hurt. I might get killed." You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people just don't. They say they're really interested in doing these things, but when it comes to the point of actually doing it, they start thinking about their safety and all that kind of stuff, and so they don't go along.
Right.
Well, that's when you call the wife and tell her to take out this big insurance policy on him, and then that way she's covered.
Yeah. Well,
Well, yeah, I know. No, but dude, it's really funny because I'll tell you what, dudes will talk a lot of smack, man, until it's time to go.
Right.
And then you go, "I'm not going to Port Chatham." My wife said, "No, I can't go. I could get hurt." But one of the things I wanted to express, one of the reasons that we go to the places where we, rather than just hanging around here, right? My idea is this. I want to prove definitively that Bigfoot exists. And I believe the best opportunity to do that is to go to places that are in the middle of flipping nowhere, that have, a real historical basis for Sasquatches as far as that being their environment. They live there. That's their home. Don't go in there. So that we can have the kind of confrontation that will allow us to get not only the equivalent of the Patterson-Gimlin film, which is the hallmark of, all Bigfoot films, but to actually force it to where we're having an aggressive encounter with a beast that's going to allow us to get that definitive proof. And that's why we go to these wild places that we do. Because by doing that, like, going to Port Chatham, Alaska, you're not going to have a hoaxer in a suit running around up there, my man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not going to run into another a human being out there.
Right. Yeah.
The odds of that.
Nowhere.
Right. In where we're going on Prince of Wales Island, I mean, the odds of it, that what you're going to see out there run in, there's the least probability of hoaxing, because people would have to go to great lengths to get out there in the first place to do a hoax, right? To fool us or whatever and stuff like that. So that's why we go to we go to such extreme lengths and go to these places that are, there's a good potential for loss of life and danger and all that stuff, but they're very remote. You got a chopper in, all that kind of stuff. And I think that affords, I think, the best opportunity to get the evidence we want.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want to go where everybody's just, right around the corner or 5 miles away, because, especially, vocalizations or anything else you hear, you can't say, well, it might be able to, carry down the holler. That's what we call them around here. That would carry down the holler. And so this could be somebody having a pretty good party down the road, and they're just wooing every once in a while, and
dude, right. I know it, and that's the truth. And here's the deal. I am not, and I have to qualify myself. I'm not, I use the word researcher because I don't know what else to use, but I'm really not. I mean, because I'm horrible collecting evidence. I don't give a rat's ass about DNA.
Right.
DNA means nothing. And by the way, for all of you listeners, if we've had 3 huge announcements in the last year that we've got Bigfoot DNA, well, you know what? Whoop-de effing do. What does that? How do you know if it's Bigfoot DNA? And number 2 is, what does that? It still doesn't prove they exist. You got to have a body.
Right.
We're to the point, and Grover Kranz even said that. Rest in peace, Grover Kranz. Yeah. We're to the point where nothing else is going to matter except for that body. So you got to get it, because DNA. So I don't care about DNA. I don't care about, I passed up more tracks to cast than anybody. I'm terrible like that. I'm going out there. I'm hunting Bigfoot. I'm going into areas where they're known to be aggressive, so that I can have the ultimate confrontation with a Sasquatch.
Right. That's
going to provide us with that definitive proof. That is what I'm after.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense.
But anything else, conjecture.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the DNA that has come out always has some issue with it. They're finding, things that aren't human, but then it's mixed with stuff that is human. So they're thinking, it's just been, tainted. So, so then it's no good. That's what it always comes up to be every time it happens.
Yeah. And when I say get in a body, I'm not saying I'm going to, I'm going to go out and shoot something or whatever, because I would never do that. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not going to shoot something to prove that it exists to somebody like Todd Standing. I'm not going to do that. But that doesn't mean that I can't find a deceased one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's very possible.
That doesn't mean that I can't get physically thrashed by one
Right.
with witnesses in film, which is in all of, those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? Because
Upload it to
that,
the cloud.
no, I mean, but I'm dead serious. And that's like, that's what we're after, and if it wouldn't have been for this COVID thing that locked down the borders, we have 2 locations in BC.
Right.
That we would have been to if it wasn't for this COVID thing.
Yeah, and that's so crazy. It's a remote location where it'd just be you and your crew, and that's the only people around.
Well,
Yeah.
what's funny though is the wife and I deliver in Canada all the time, and they've got those borders completely locked down for anybody coming over for anything other than business. And almost only truck drivers are allowed going back and forth across the border. Anybody else, like when we're coming back, especially on the Canadian side, they've got it barricaded off where all the cars, when they're coming through, they just go for them to circle back around and go back to Canada. So, we're going to take us a quick break, and we're going to come back in just a couple of minutes. All right, Steve.
You bet.
All right, man. You're talking with Dave and Jason here on Project Dark Corona. We're talking with Stephen Major. Remember, we are simulcasting live on Spreaker and on Podbean, but please come over to projectdarkcorona.org and come into our live page and listen to it there. We can interact with you a heck of a lot better. It's a little bit better setup and everything over here anyway. Remember, we are on everything paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, aliens, and ghosts. That's our page. It's a mouthful.
On Facebook.
That's right. That's a mouthful. And then Twitter, it's Project Dark Coro, CORO. And remember, paranormalityradio.com. Please go over and vote for us. But come over to projectdarkcorona.org and join us.
You're listening to Project Dark Corona.
Welcome and thanks for listening to Project Dark Corona on Podbean. If you like our show and would like to support it, you can by becoming a patron. Just click on the box that says Become a Patron and sign up. We have different options that you can choose from to support us. Some of the perks becoming a patron include bonus content, free gifts, and the feeling of being part of the show. So thanks, and continue listening to Project Dark Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona with David Reagan and Jason Scott.
You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast, brought to you by Project Dark Corona. Coming to you live from an undisclosed location, deep in a bunker in the Appalachian Mountains, bringing you the strange and unknown with your host, David Reagan and Jason Scott. You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Sieber. I'm stuck in a bunker with David and Jason on Project Dark Corona.
All right, welcome back to Project Dark Corona.
Oh yeah.
So, we still got Steve with us, Steven?
You bet, I'm here, man.
Hey, Lee was talking, he said you was going to do a little quiz or some kind of little, game where people could win some prizes.
Oh yeah, well I thought if people were, we'd throw something out there because I'm looking to give away a few things.
Okay. You can go ahead and tell us what you want to do.
Well, okay, I've got one of the prizes I have is a VIP ticket / pass to the first annual Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival.
Oh.
That I'm going to win. Now, I know, I think most of your listeners are on the East Coast, so that may not be something that they can,
be able to
that would be worth any. Yeah, they would be able. So I thought, I'll throw out the trivia question on that. And in alternative, if they can't make it to the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival, then I'll throw in a In Search of the Port Chatham Hairy Man film poster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I could say in the chat room, if you're in the area where you could go to the conference, at least tell us.
Yeah, especially over here in Podbean. If you're in Washington area, definitely let us know in the Podbean chat room there, because we've got a lot of people over in that chat room.
Yeah, that's happening it's this coming weekend, June 19th through the 20th. And it is going to be one heck of a great event. We've got fabulous speakers there, good presentations. We have Adam Davis, World Explorer. We have Russ Accord. We have Bob Gimlin.
Oh, no way.
Ken Gerhardt's coming. Tom Cantrell is coming.
Dave might call in sick to work and come.
I think. You said that's this coming weekend.
Yeah, June 19th through the 20th, man.
My truck might accidentally break down when we go to Tahoe. No?
You could do your show from there, and we would meet with you. Yeah, sure.
That's funny.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a phenomenal event. This is the first year that they're putting it on up there, and we've just got some fabulous speakers coming.
That's awesome.
And it's a townwide event and all that. So I thought I would offer up a VIP pass if your listeners can answer question number 1 for this.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Everybody ready?
Okay, here we go. And here's the thing, man. These are actually easy to find out if you don't know them. But I have to say the disclaimer right now. If you've ever been a part of either one of my film crews or expeditions, you are disqualified.
Suckers.
Okay. So for the VIP pass to the first annual Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival, the question is, what is the name of the ship that the 2018 Port Chatham Bigfoot Expedition team chartered out to Port Chatham, Alaska? What's the name of the ship?
Ding. That's what we need. The don. We got to get that music.
Yeah. And I've got to tell you right now, I have had more calls about this film and our trip to Port Chatham, Alaska, from folks in New York, in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey than I have had in the Pacific Northwest.
Really?
But I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, and as far as DVD sales go, the majority of them have been over there on the East Coast. Okay, I can't forget the folks in Georgia, but they would know.
Savannah's on the coast of Georgia, with Georgia. So.
Savannah.
Yeah. So anyways, that's for the big price, because these VIP tickets were $140 a piece. So it's a good price, and it gets you in to see the speakers and the VIP dinner and the meet and greet and all that kind of stuff. So that's the question. If they can answer that, they've got themselves a ticket. If they can't make it, I'll send them one of our nice Port Chatham Hairy Man film posters.
That's awesome.
Okay, so that's number one. That's for the big prize.
Okay.
And number two is the second trivia question is the prize is a Blu-ray copy of limited edition Blu-ray edition of In Search of the Porch Adam Hairy Man on Blu-ray DVD. And this is too easy. And it is what is the name of my co-host on our show, Bigfoot Today.
I think
And there's an easy way to find that one out. We'll see how many people watch the show.
Right.
Okay.
This is a good way of figuring that out.
Yeah. Okay. And then this one's a no-brainer, but the prize is a great one. And the third trivia question is for the a limited edition commemorative 2021 first annual Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival shirt.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
And this one, everybody should get this one. And so it's got to be the first person that answers correctly. Okay. The most famous Bigfoot abduction story, which occurred in British Columbia, Canada in 1924. What is the name of the Canadian prospector that was allegedly kidnapped by a Bigfoot and spent 6 days living with a Bigfoot and then escaped? What's his name? It occurred in 1924.
I remember that story.
Everybody remembers the story, but nobody ever remembers his name.
Yes.
And that's for a shirt.
Well, come on, people.
They're nice shirts, by the way.
Yeah. You might have to type that into the chat room or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, so they could look it up. They might have to use Google on some of them. I'm not sure.
Let's see. Did get
Well, while they're doing that, I was wondering what you got going on right now. Do you got an expedition coming up in the next few years?
Yo, dude. Yeah, let me tell you. We have a number of things planned. And one of the things, the Prince of Wales Island expedition is the one that we have scheduled because that's not in Canada, and we can do that one. So we've got that coming up, and that's in October that we have. But the other thing, there are two other things that we have going on. Is we're on hold right now. Okay, are you familiar with the Valley of the Headless Men in the Northwest Territories?
no, never heard of that.
The Nahanni River Valley, 1920s, Valley of the Headless Men, all of that kind of stuff.
I need to look into
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I
That
do
sounds
too.
interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Okay. Well, we're going. Okay, the whole story is you got the Nahanni River Valley that's in the Northwest Territories up there, and during the 20s and the 40s, people were going up there, prospectors, trappers, and things like that, and they were not coming back. And the government would get the RCMP or whatever, and they go up there looking for them. And they find these dudes with no heads.
Mm.
And they're like, well, what's doing this? Like, who's wiping these people out, right? And what they have up there, this is very, very interesting, is people are like, it's not a Sasquatch. It's called the Nogli or the Bushman. And he's basically, there was a very, historically and in lore, there was a very a violent native tribe they look like Neanderthals. Like cavemen, like a club and wear animal skins and, Neanderthal. Yeah, about, 5'6" and what like that. And they inhabited that area and they were the ones that were responsible for, ripping these people's heads off and stuff. So we got all jazzed and everything. And we were like, well, we're going to go to the Valley of the Headless Men. That's going to be our next expedition because no one has ever gone there before. And you can't drive to it. You have to go to Yellowknife and get on a plane and fly for an hour and 15 minutes to land out there. I mean, it's very, very remote.
And so that's on our bucket list, and that was an expedition that we had planned for last year until COVID hit. We were going to go up there apart from doing that. But actually, COVID was a good thing because it's got me to spend more time researching the area and all that on the Nahanni River Valley and the Valley of the Headless Bend. And what I found out was that there hasn't even been a sighting of the Bushman since 1970. And there hasn't been anybody that's gone missing since 1947 was the last incident of that, right? So I'm like, well, why would we go there if there hasn't been anything happening recently? And I started doing some more research about this tribe, the Bushmen, they call them. And I was like, well, they're not there anymore. I mean, the last sighting was in 1970 around the Nahanni River Butte, and that was it. And I'm like, one of the things that I do is I start going, okay, well, they're not there anymore. They've been known to be violent. So let's start looking for missing persons reports within a 250-mile radius of this area, right?
Yeah.
Well, and where can we find obscure sightings? Where are these things occurring again that haven't occurred there? And we found an area that's about 145 miles due east of the Nahanni River Valley. And that's where we're going.
Oh.
That's where we're headed. So from the research, what that leads me to believe is they've migrated. They've moved. Mm-hmm. Because when all of a sudden you have this area where there was, this stuff going on, and then all of a sudden it stopped, right? And then you find another area where all of a sudden, a lot like Vancouver Island, all of a sudden you have a bunch of mysterious deaths of people that have been trappers and prospectors, right? Then you have a large number of missing persons and things that are occurring and things like that. And a few people with missing heads. Well, what does that tell you, right? They moved.
Yeah.
They've migrated. So, so we're ready to pull the trigger on that one as soon as the Canadian government lifts their COVID bans.
That's awesome.
This is like another first. This is the equivalent of Port Chatham, Alaska thing. Like we were the first in the history of Bigfoot research and investigation and go to Port Chatham, Alaska. And now I only like doing firsts, right?
Right.
I mean, really. And so now we're actually going after proving the existence of something which is interesting because I don't think you'll find that anywhere because what we're after is not a Sasquatch, but a Neanderthal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Man that's still existing out there.
That kind of goes along with I don't know if it was on the same show as the one that you was on the Alaska Triangle, but they was talking about where it's like in the 50s or something where the natives came in to trade and they had tusks from a woolly mammoth that had fresh blood on it. And they're like, no, we just killed this thing. And they're like, what? These things don't exist.
No, I'm telling you. Look, what is it? It seems like every year we're humans. We're so arrogant. We think we know everything, right?
Right.
And what was it? Okay, 2 years ago. No, I'm serious. Okay, what was it? 2 years ago, down in the Congo, they found that new species of chimpanzee, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't know it was never knew, brand new, right?
Yep.
And then just recently, they discovered a new species of flying squirrel, and I can't remember exactly where that was. We are so arrogant to believe that everything is known,
right?
And it's not.
Right.
And especially, especially if you look at this, you look at the size of Canada and the Northwest Territories out there, and you're looking at way out there. We don't know what the hell's out there, man.
No, yeah,
we don't. There's so much more to be discovered. So those are two things that we have going on.
Go ahead.
Oh, and then we've got another film, but we can talk about that later, I guess.
Wow,
another one. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say along those same lines that you was just talking about. I listen to Bobo and Cliff Barrickman and stuff on their podcast some, and well, actually a lot. They they had this doctor guy, I forgot his name, but he is over in Africa, and he, for 20, 30 years, he was following all the herds of the elephants and all that other stuff. And he had heard about this one herd that was, way off in these woods and into this other area, and no one believed that they were there. And he actually went on the hunt for these things, and he found them. And he said it's a whole herd of elephants, but no one even knew that they were in this area. But now he also, while he was there, he started seeing these Bigfoot creatures. And so he's actually studying those now. But, along those lines, things can be in places you may not think that they're going to be, and a viable enough of them to stay viable and reproduce, And
they can. There is so much undiscovered and uncharted. Have you been to Alaska? Have either of you been to Alaska?
I've driven. Me and the wife have driven up to Alaska and delivered. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, dude. One thing I love about Alaska is, I say Alaska is like the Northwest Territories of Canada. There, it is like there still is a last frontier. And when you're in Alaska, you feel like it because it's so sparsely populated. And you can go in those areas in Alaska, some areas in Alaska, in the Northwest Territories, where no man has probably even set foot.
Yeah.
You can actually find some ground. And there are a few places like that along the BC coast, too. It's so thick and foreboding and remote. And the only way you're getting out there is if you want to get lost or you're going to chopper or whatever. There's vast tracts with no roads and things like that. So there's a lot that's yet to be discovered. But I find the Bushman to be extremely intriguing, and because he's not a Sasquatch. The Bushman is basically a Neanderthal and tribe that's still existing. And I'm kind of amazed that nobody has really taken a keen interest in this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I don't know, when you say that, there's a possibility that there's still Neanderthal out there, you'd think that everybody would be beating down the doors to try to go find it,
Yeah, but right now, Bigfoot's the big thing, and everybody's looking for Bigfoot. But I like what you guys proposed a little bit earlier. Is what if we could consolidate people? What if we could get people more together on this thing, and we could fully fund something, to where you could actually go into an area, in some of the areas that we selected, and you could actually, what if you could go spend a month on the ground, uninhibited in Port Chatham, Alaska?
Yeah.
In the area there. Think what you could uncover, right? Or you could go to Broughton Island on the coast of BC and spend a month out there. What could you uncover? And those are the things that, I think people should consider a little bit, because you can run around and we're beyond the point where tracks and track castings and, questionable DNA and FLIR video and vocalations and sounds of wood knocks and things like that. We're beyond the point where it's almost passé to even talk about that stuff.
Right. Yeah. And that's what you hear a lot too, is a lot of people are like, we're really past the point of saying that these things, do these things even exist? We know they exist. Now it's just getting the actual proof. It's like you said, the body. Finding it. Well,
when we were in Port Chatham, Alaska, and I have to tell you, you're probably not aware of this, but there has been, we kind of laid the foundation for people to go in there. It was us that were we were the groundbreakers. We were the trailblazers. There's been a film crew up in Port Chatham, Alaska for like the last couple of months.
Wow.
And they've been up there, and they're not being real public about it, but it was a relatively large operation, and they've been there. My understanding is, I know they've been there, for at least like 2 months or something.
Wow.
In the area up there, and they're shooting a multi-part series on Port Chatham, Alaska, and I hope that they maybe follow through on some of the things that we wanted to do when we were there, like go up to the Lake of No Return and explore those caves up there and do a few things like that. But nothing's been really big on it in the press. But I don't know when it's coming out. But hopefully they do justice to the place.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy duty, man, isn't it? Yeah.
2 months. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they, that they come out with some good stuff. But then again, if they would have had a run with the hairy man, they're not going to wait for a film. They would tell you about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'd have went straight on and be like, "We've got film of this thing." This thing.
Well, they would do that,
Yeah.
And if that thing says they get something big, they do it, and if they don't, they don't.
It would sell the DVDs a lot quicker if they're like, "Hey, it's on the DVD."
Yeah. Well, what would you guys like to see? Let me ask you guys a question. What would you like to see? Where do you think things are at?
I mean, myself, as far as with Bigfoot,
Yeah.
I'm at a crossroads myself, because I think I'm pretty sure, my sighting was what I saw. And I've got castings and stuff here at the house of stuff, and it's awesome. And, I follow up on all the DNA stuff that keeps getting done, but it's really funny because it all ends up being the same stuff. They think that it's tainted because it always has human DNA in it.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier, I really think that if there could be a really big expedition somewhere where you can prove, hey, since 1800, this whole area here has had huge number of sightings all the way up to today. And you could get the ability for a team to go back in there for a month or 2 months in that area and do nothing but just, hunker down and try to find Bigfoot. I think that that's the way that it would need to go to actually be able to definitively finally put a cork in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think we're ready for that. Yeah. And I think that's what it takes, And unfortunately, I really thought in 2017, I was getting in on the tail end of Bigfoot. I thought, I'm a latecomer, somebody's going to bring it in before, bring in that definitive proof before I am. But what you've seen is it's become so commercially profitable to exploit the myth of Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. That it's just gotten to the point of insanity. And I don't, there's like so many Bigfoot shows on and there's like so many, there's like 1,000 Bigfoot YouTube channels now, and there's all this stuff. And for let's say you're a person that you're just trying to get some information out of it, you can really get lost in the distortion of things. There's so many opinions on what Bigfoot is, what its abilities are, all this kind of stuff. And it's just, but the commercial aspect of it, I think, is doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
If you're sincere about things like that, and it's because it's anything to generate some hype and whatever. They don't care about disinformation and things like that. They're just putting it out there to make a buck. And I have a real problem with that, and I don't try, I look at ways to continue to fund our research and the things that we're doing and stuff like that. But I don't really, I'm not in this to make money. You know what I'm saying? That's not the goal. That's not the motivation.
Right.
Yeah. Jason, I know you got something to say, Jason.
What's your take?
You're sitting there looking at me. I know you got something to say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go too far out. You know how I am.
Oh.
Oh, let's have it, man. Go too far out, buddy.
And then I'll reel us back in.
Yeah.
I lean toward, I know we have to find some kind of bone, DNA, something.
Right.
Or just a real good photo. But why are they always blurry?
Because Bigfoot's blurry, man. Have you seen the comedian?
I think for myself, I believe there's something going on with this thing. That's not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. Why are they always blurry? Because what you find is that, and this actually comes from some of those that are what you would say are not godfathers of Bigfoot, but, long-term guys. So it got famous in the 70s, right, for something they did, right?
Right.
Well, they got famous for something they discovered or whatever that they attributed to Bigfoot in the 70s. And here we are 50 years later, and they haven't come up with jack shit.
Right.
And so they're living on something that they discovered that was unusual in the 70s and all that. And so now it's like they're coming out with all these explanations why they haven't uncovered anything since. And one of the things that I read not too long ago was by a prominent guy who's on a lot of TV shows and all this kind of stuff, who's written a book, is the reason they're blurry is because Bigfoot gives off radiation or some shit or something like that, and this is a guy that's called on shows to be an expert, and all this kind of stuff. But they start coming on with all these reasons why there's blurry photos, why there's this and all that stuff and all of that. And I say poppycock, rat shit on that, but you'll find that. But I think, with today's technology, they shouldn't be blurry. I mean, look at the Patterson-Gimlin film, man. It was on 8mm or 16mm or something like that.
Yeah. It was 8mm film, I think is what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? Today, film ain't going to work. I mean, like I said, honestly, with film's not going to work anymore. You're going to have to bring in some physical thing. Right. And the DNA is not going to work. You're going to have to bring in, but see, no one's ever really got the equivalent of the Patterson-Gimlin film, which that was always kind of my goal. But I think now you're going to have to come up with more than that. So I thought that's why we go to these areas where something's going to try to kill you, whatever, and you're going to have an aggressive encounter, and you're not only going to get the film because you're wearing the camera, you're going to have the physical impairments to show that he broke your arm or he's thrashed you or whatever, and you'll get all the things that you want to get.
Right.
In that encounter.
A couple knots on the head too.
Well, I mean, whatever. Lucky. And but I mean, that's kind of where we are today on this.
Right.
Also,
and there's.
Go ahead.
Well, and because there's so much we don't know, but we've got to have that physical contact.
Right. Also, I was watching a show where I seen it somewhere that they found, bones, just the teeth and the jawbone of the Gigantopithecus.
Mm-hmm.
In
China. Maybe?
China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they say it's extinct, but what if it's not extinct? I mean, they recently discovered a fish,
right,
that they thought had been extinct for millions of years.
Yep.
So, I mean,
the coelacanth, I think is what it was. Yeah.
And it took them.
Well, yeah, that was down in South Africa, and that's the thing. But I have to tell you this, man. This is the thing about Sasquatch. The Sasquatch that we're talking about here, man. You've got what Ken Gerhardt termed the apists, right? That they believe that Sasquatch is a ape, great North American ape. You know what? And I don't know much about apes. I really don't. I watch some of the stuff. But let me tell you, in 35 years, I have had 3 sightings and a few encounters within that time. But the close-up encounters that I have had been with something that is very sentient, extremely smart, and conscious of what it's doing. And I just don't, I'm not an apist. I don't believe that. There's something more to these people. There's something more to this beast or creature that's out there.
So do you follow like what a lot of the Native Americans and stuff like that, where they think that it's another tribe? I mean, they think of them as just another tribe. They're the people of the forest.
And I believe that the most credible people, Natives peoples, are the First Nations people in British Columbia, because of what they have shared with me that correlates with the experiences that I have had. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just don't, you know, I've been teased. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like the most frightening experience that I ever had with an encounter with a Sasquatch occurred on Vancouver Island in January of 2018. In the middle of the night, freezing my butt off, sitting there. We're waiting in an area that we had scoped out for months where we found a trackway where there was a definite male, a female, and a juvenile. And it was a used trackway that was coming down, and it was right down to the beach. And we set up in there, and we're like, we're going to get them. We got the cameras there. We know they're in the area. We've had lots of reports. And I'm sitting there, and we're spread out, and we're facing this particular area in this little draw where we expected them to come down. And it's like, I don't know, like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. I'm freezing my butt off, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm trying to stay awake. And all of a sudden, a chill runs up my spine, and the hair on the back of my neck just goes right up. And I'm just paralyzed with fear. Just out of nowhere. I'm tired, and I'm paralyzed, and I can't even move. And then I hear this crunching in the bush behind me. And something is right behind me. And I swear I can hear it breathing. And it felt like it touched the nape of my neck. And I don't know how long I was there or anything like that. I'm just frozen, and I couldn't even turn my head. I was so frightened and terror. And then I could hear it. I don't know if it was 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, a minute and a half. And it walks away. It stops and makes this baboonish kind of laughter thing. And then another one responds from in front of me about 50 yards up the hill. And it was like a baboon talking. And they were kind of like laughing, and it goes away.
We have a question in the chat room, and they was kind of asking, would you be willing to kill one, to get one? I know you kind of answered that a little bit earlier, but.
No, not unless I was attacked.
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
No,
but
go ahead.
Well, from that experience, I actually got to speak with one of the. I share that experience later with one of the First Nations elders, and I can't remember the term. It always escapes me. And he said that was the juvenile that was going through, the one that came down and it accosted me and came up behind me, and it felt like he touched the nape of my neck. And he said, no, that's when they go through that rite of one of your listeners is going to know what it means. We know where you go, because in the native, you go slap a bear. You know what I'm saying? It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, you put.
I can't.
Counting coup is what it's like.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. That's it. Yeah. And he goes, and he was laughing at me because this was like 3 days later. And dude, and I like had nightmares for months after this. I would wake my wife up in bed screaming, help me, because I kept reliving it over and over in a dream where it grabbed my neck and drugged me off. And seriously, this was like really intense. I thought I was going to have to go to flipping counseling. But I went and talked with the elder. He goes, no, that was counting coup. He goes, and see, the next day when it got light, you could find the impressions where it came down behind me, right? And they were the smaller tracks. But this is where I have a problem with the Sahara Sounds, because I don't know what the hell that shit is. But what I heard was clearly, it was kind of like, it was laughing. It was, you know how Lancelot Lincoln, he laughs and the baboon kind of laughs, right? Yeah. When the thing walked away, it was probably about, 20, 25 feet away from me. And it laughed, and then the other one responded in a kind of a deeper laughter up the hill. And anyways, the First Nations elder said, yeah, he was counting coup on you, man. And that's it. And I, you know what I'm saying? So I don't, when you talk about they're just another, like an ape, right? I just, that kind of stuff where there's laughter involved and, teasing me and all that kind of stuff. That's where I diverge from that thought where it's just a great ape running around.
So what do you think about like these guys that have the they call it the what is it, the chatter, where they think it sounds kind of like Japanese
samurai chatter
or whatever that is?
Okay, I just have to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I know where that theory, and here's where, okay, for your listeners, here's where that theory came from. Because it's one of those things where they can't explain what it is. But I think it's bullshit. And I'm telling you right now, I think this Sarah sound is bullshit. Because the theory behind that is why it sounds like Japanese chatter is because it goes back to the Asian land bridge where they came over during the Ice Age and they brought along, and that's why it sounds like it's got this Asian tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've listened to the Sierra. When I got back here from that incident that I just shared with you guys, and when I could give, and by the way, I couldn't even think of going back into the bush again for a month. I thought I would never go back after that experience. It was so terrifying. But anyways, I got over that and I said, look, you got to get on a pony, you got to go back. So I started looking into what I had heard, and I tried to find it on, Google, like sounds of animals and things and baboons. And I listened to that Sierra bullshit sound shit like 10 times. And I was like, I don't know what the hell that is. But then I came across the closest thing that I found was, what are those guys on Madagascar? The whatever. Yeah. It actually, dude, believe it. Now, whatever it was, that wasn't a lemur, but it was kind of like a lemur kind. And then I listened to some baboons talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like
that I found.
Like in the kids' movie, those little bitty monkeys.
Well, no, but lemurs are actually in the monkey family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're actually an ape. Yeah. Yeah, and it was, but it was clearly because when I envisioned in my mind, it was kind of like Lancelot Link. You remember that? I mean, I'm kind of old, the chimp, Yes.
But it was chimpish. It was baboonish. It was whatever, and it was laughter. And then when the other one responded from up the hill was kind of like a deeper kind of, I can't really do it. And that was the end of that incident. So I don't know. I like I said, I don't know. When people ask me about the Sierra sounds, I'm going, yeah, whatever, all that. So, but then I looked into where they think it sounds like Japanese because the Asian bridge and they came over. But I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just my opinion, though. I don't know.
But like you said, it sounded like a monkey, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wouldn't that intrigue people as well?
What's that?
I said, since you said it sort of sounded like that from Madagascar, you think that would intrigue people as well,
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's like, dude, I mean, I know, and that's the thing where you come with that. We go, well, if you're an apist, but it may be that they communicate that way. Okay, then that leads us to the whistle thing,
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The whistling thing. But I guess my point is, what I heard sounded chimpish, baboonish, kind of thing like that. But I mean, in the wild, does a baboon? What do you call it? When they sneak up, what do you call it again? Koosh.
Yeah.
Do they do that? I mean, who does that? I know Native Americans do that.
Yes. Young men in the Native American tribes would go count coup against their enemies, and they would get they'd get marks for everyone that they got to do. So yeah.
Right. So I know they do that, but do they do apes or baboons? Do they do that in the wild?
I don't.
That's
yeah.
That kind of thing.
Right.
So that's my question on that. So, but I don't know anything. I just know my own experiences. But a lot of people do ask me about the Sierra Sounds thing, and I listen to that. And in my experience, and I've had some pretty close ups and stuff, and I've heard things and stuff, but I have never heard anything like that. But that doesn't mean anything, I haven't heard that. But to attribute that to a Sasquatch, in my experience, I would say no.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's anything else. But I mean, what do you got out there in Tennessee? You guys got some stuff going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Out here in East Tennessee, it's we've got Matt Sieber that comes on a lot from East Tennessee Bigfoot, and yeah, there's quite a bit. Even way back, The Cherokee Indians have a lot of tales about the native or about the Bigfoot. You know, they would also talk about gifting, where the natives would give, you know, go out to the woods and give fruit and
Right.
food and stuff like that. And their whole idea is when they would do that, when they were out in the woods hunting and do all this other stuff, these Bigfoot would watch their back. They thought of them as more like, you know, their brothers.
Yeah, so they would stop like bears from hurting them, or they would help them hunt.
Yeah, they would help them the whole time, and that's what they did with this gifting. Yeah.
Well, okay. Quickly to First Nations deal. Up where I grew up on the coast of British Columbia, not too far from me, we were told about a legend of a Sasquatch that was a guardian of a Indian burial ground. And this is one of the areas that when I was in my youth, that I was told that we never go into. We can go anywhere we want, but we don't ever go to that area because Dunaqua is up there, and she is a guardian of this old Indian burial ground. Okay, and dude, this is in 1976, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we are. Flash forward to 2017, and I really had not heard anything. You know, I hadn't really thought about that much. And I'm in Campbell River, and I'm interviewing he's a First Nations guy, and he was a water taxi guy that ran people back and forth into this, border, in by this area where, off of Watson Island, where we this supposed Indian burial ground is, and we shouldn't go there and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interviewing this guy, and anyways, this is in 2000. It was either the latter end of 2017 or the first part of 2018. And he was running by that area, and he was dropping off some loggers or something like that. And then he was coming back, and he got kind of tired, and he pulled into this little bay that was very close to this area you're not supposed to go into. And he was tired, and so he kind of anchored there, and he took a little nap, and all of a sudden he was just jolted awake, this feeling of like dread and trepidation. And he woke up, and he stood up, and he looked out the dash, out the window of his boat, and on the beach, the tide had gone out, and he was about 25 to 30 feet to the shore. The tide had gone out in the time that he was napping. And here was this Sasquatch standing on the beach, doing that thing where they're going back and forth, one leg to the next, just arms raised in the air, going, just roaring at him. Just roaring at him. You know what I'm talking about? And yeah, just going. And he was like, holy shit. And he's like, he started that motor, and he didn't put him back, and just started. This thing is on the beach, going, with a left to right and stuff, and the arms are waving in the air, and it's 8 feet tall and and he's just roaring at him. He's absolutely terrified. And he puts the boat in reverse, and he pulls back, and then he got away from it, because he thought it was going to come out. He said it was only 25 feet from the beach because the tide went out. And so he was going to come out there and get him. And he pulled back in the boat, and he got out there about 100 yards, and he pulled his anchor up, and he hauled ass, and he got back to Port McNeil. And the next day he quit his job, and he said he would never go back.
That's crazy.
And and dude, I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to this guy in 2000. We're sitting there at the Discover Inn in Campbell River, and dude, he's telling me the story. And as far as credibility goes, there's absolutely no question in my mind the story was real. But it's in that same area, so who knows?
Wow.
That's one place we want to go back to, man.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot more for us to explore. I hope our Canadian friends open up their borders soon so we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Especially, since you've got some pretty cool things that you're going to go up there and do. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I've got that. We already have the team assembled for that, and I'm not going to tell you who's on it. But when you talk about the best of the best, we got the best of the best. We just have to get her clear to go.
He might have told us earlier, and I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, maybe I slipped up a little bit on there, but hey.
Everybody
Anyway.
listen back to this 2 or 3 times, and you might find it.
Yeah. Well, we would love your support, and we're probably running out of time here, but
Yeah.
I hope every one of you will please check out our YouTube channel, which is Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC on YouTube. Please subscribe. We've got a lot of great videos there. We've got 3 films in the can. We've got In Search of the Port Chatham Hairy Man, which is available on Amazon right now, which is a documentary about the first Bigfoot research team ever in the history of Bigfoot research and investigation to go to Port Chatham, Alaska. And then we have Bigfoot Encounters in the Pacific Northwest, which was shot up in Stevens County, Washington, very near to where Bossburg, the tracks we spoke about later, were found. That's a great film. And in June 19th, it will be premiered at the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival. We have Sullivan Creek Sasquatch, which is our documentary film about our activities up there in Pend Oreille County. And we have a lot more coming up after that, man. But I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, and you brought a lot to tonight's show, and we really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I hope so, man. And dude, it's my pleasure, and thank you very, very much for having me on the show.
Yes,
very much.
And maybe we could do it again sometime.
You bet, man.
Yeah.
When we come back from the Northwest Territories, or maybe you can come along. But no, I appreciate it, and I hope you guys will stay in touch with me and follow what we're doing. And
absolutely.
And since you're a truck driver, if you're coming through Spokane Valley, Washington again, you better call me the next time you're up here, man.
I will. Well, we're up there almost. I mean, literally, the wife and I we just went through there this week. I mean, right through Spokane. We dropped off over near Coeur d'Alene, and then we went through Spokane and then over into Oregon and dropped off our second load. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, dude, the next time you're through, you definitely call me.
Okay, I definitely will. Yeah, absolutely. Do lunch.
You got it.
You have a Facebook page, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC.
So, everybody, because I'll see that some people over here was too busy listening to talk to us. They said, go over to his Facebook page and answer his questions. Since you didn't get to do it here.
Oh, well, actually, have him message me, or they can email me at info@Extreme Expeditions Northwest.
Awesome. There you go.
Have them do that, or they can message me or whatever. But I'm really anxious. I want to see who really has watched the film and knows what the name of our ship was. The other two are kind of easy.
Yeah.
But if you want to go to the VIP path. But anyways, if you get anybody that answers those and they get with you, I mean, shoot me an answer at them, because I want to make sure I get it to them. But then again, I think that on the East Coast, a lot of people aren't going to be able to make it over here for the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival. But at least we can get it
right on the. I don't know on the live all the time, but I definitely do know that on our. When this gets podcasted up, for sure, we have people in your area that does listen. So that's why I kind of threw that out there for a second too. But it's first come, first served. You ain't got 100 of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So, well, thank you, and this was an excellent conversation.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad glad you guys had me on the show.
Thank you. And
Awesome
look
stories.
for
Thanks.
Jason?
What? Yeah, I'm still listening.
Oh, he's still.
Yeah.
Jason,
I don't think
keep talking.
the show shouldn't be over, but I know we got to
No.
go. But
Yeah, we got to go.
I've got a lot more stuff to go over here. But
Well, you do. Well, if you've got something, man, I'm still here. I could,
well, we'll save it.
I,
Maybe you can come back on because I do have a lot of questions that I know can't be answered all tonight.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe later
Yeah,
on this year or next year, we'll get you back on. It'll be awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe after
Okay, guys.
your expedition you're going up on, you might have some new evidence.
Dude, I would tell you December would be a great time because then we'll be back
okay.
and because I got to be, you guys are I don't do a lot of podcasts. I just don't, because if I don't have something new to share,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't want to do it. So, because what's the point? I'm not trying to, promote myself publicity wise, but I'll tell you what, let's, by December, we'll have either you'll be reading about in the news or we'll have a lot of stuff to share with you.
Ooh,
Awesome.
that'll be
Thanks.
excellent.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he's going to bring it back over on a boat, and it's going to bust out and call up a building.
Oh, that's a whole nother episode, brother.
Start swatting at airplanes.
Yeah, he's going to be swatting down airplanes.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. Well, I guess it's out for now, and thanks again for having me on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good night. now.
Good
All right.
night.
See you later. Bye-bye.
That was fantastic.
Yep. That's what needs to happen. They need to bring it back, let it loose, and
Let it terrorize a few villages.
yeah, let it climb up the Empire State Building or something.
Well, maybe
There'll be a sniper. We got to take it down.
Oh man.
Then it'll turn on its cloaking device.
Oh.
Then it'll say, "Beam me up,
Scotty.
Scotty. Beam me out of here.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Too close to humans."
Oh man.
This was excellent. I didn't even take that last break.
I know. There went this month's sponsors.
We'll throw it in. There's a spot in there somewhere. I know there is. But I want to thank everybody for showing up in all of our chat rooms. I hope you enjoyed listening to Stephen Major.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
He's no nonsense. He's like, no bullshit. Show me. Let me find it out for real.
It was great. It was really good. I see Podbean was stomping over there tonight. Hello, Podbean. Please come over here to our lonely little chat room on project.corona.org. Join us.
Oh yeah. Join us on project.corona.org. You can listen to the show there too and chat.
Yep. Jason threw up a few pictures in the chat room.
Pictures. We had a couple websites and his Steven's YouTube. I put it up there.
The only thing I can't do right now, is David's going to have to fix, is kick people out.
No bouncing yet. Okay. Well, we'll work on that.
We got Shell to do that though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Shell did a good job. So,
now next week, you want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, next week we're going to have Dolly Indigo Star, and she's out of the UK, so it'll be our first international guest. And we're going to be talking, we'll be talking about the Anunnaki, the Star Child, all kinds of like forbidden history type things.
We're going to be able to go down to Zechariah Sitchin and the Chariots of the Gods with, Eric Von Daniken, and we're going to be able to roll all of this stuff out. So this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, she actually goes on site. She does work. She was at the Great Pyramids. She went to I think it was Scotland just a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken, to do some investigations and stuff and everything. So she's all over the place.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. This is, that specific topic is the topic that I've been on the longest part of my life. I started reading, Eric Von Daniken's books and all that stuff back when I was in high school. So I've been on this trail for a long time. So this is going to be pretty fun. This is going to be great. Definitely action packed because I'll be able to talk.
What, you don't talk? What are you talking about? You never talk on this show?
Never. Do I get to talk?
Every time I point, you're supposed to talk.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Jason.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
And then the week after that, we'll be back talking about squatching again. Scott Violette with Squatch America. And he is, what was that, anthropologist? Mm-hmm. So he's a scientist, so he brings that type of aspect to it.
Yeah, that'll be pretty fun to talk to somebody that, can bring a scientific mind into it. That'll be fun.
And then in July,
Stephen Major was really fun tonight.
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
That was a blast. Yeah. I had a blast.
And he was kind enough to tell us in December he'll be back from that expedition and might have some new information for us. So
he also told us that he doesn't do very many podcasts, so we are lucky.
Well,
yep.
So
I know it's pretty awesome.
We are awesome. But remember, when you go to project.corona.org, over on the right-hand side, there's something that says paranormalityradio.com. Mm-hmm. Click on that. Vote for us, please. We're number 2. We have made it to the number 2 slot, everybody. We're trying to go for number 1.
Yeah, number 1. These guys are going to have to take some pictures. They're going to get interviewed and have a layout in a magazine and everything.
Yeah, help us get into a magazine. It'll be my first magazine ever.
Yeah,
that had to make me the centerfold.
I think we'd have fun. It'll be a blast for sure. But I want to thank everybody for listening and for tuning in, and everybody that can, please come over to project.corona.org and come into the live page and chat with us. And so live show and chat room is what it's called. It's the second one over from home. Just to let you know.
Hey, remember to sign up. It's totally free. Sign up and your name will show up.
Yeah.
It won't be anonymous.
It won't be anonymous.
Yeah.
No anonymous.
What you saying about the next 5 people and stuff, Dave?
That's right. The next 5 people who show up and become members get what, Jason?
They get the premium membership for 1 month free.
Whoa. Free. 1 month premium membership. You get to live like the big dogs for 1 month. So we look forward to these next 5 people coming onto the site. Look forward to you coming on next week. And we will see you next week. Remember, you're listening to Project Dark Corona. Your hosts are David and Jason, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We got Mr. Lee that's here tonight with us. And we will see you next week.
Welcome to Project Dark Corona. Project Dark Corona presents Project Dark Corona Podcast. Coming to you live from an underground bunker at an undisclosed location deep within the Appalachian Mountains. Bringing you the strange and unknown with your hosts David and Jason. You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast.